You know, Dane, I rarely say this, but hear me now and believe me later. Why did we say that to Arnold? That's one of the funniest ones.
I know. Well, he loves it. That was fun. We get to really talk about Hans and Franz with Arnold. And it is funny and fun to do an Austrian accent to Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could flick you with your little finger and you fly across the room and land in your own baby poop.
He made me laugh. He was such a warm, fun guy, likes comedy. He knew a lot of our stuff. He also recited a lot of his catchphrases. Wasn't that fun to hear him do it?
Yes, we talked about Girly Man and how people said when he was governor of California, he would call people girly men, and we talk all about that. And he loved the sketch. He's such a great sport. He's a great storyteller. He really, I heard a lot of stories I'd never heard before about how he got his start in Hollywood. And
he's got a book out with a lot of great, very interesting stories.
Yeah, be useful and
very positive thinking.
Positive thinker, hard worker, and the way he articulates, it's not his accent or anything anymore. It's just he makes things very clean and very simple. You have to get up every morning and be the hero of your life. You do things that are uncomfortable. You go toward the pain, and that's where all the good stuff is. With pain you get stronger. And he is hypnotic really to listen to.
Mm-hmm. The person who makes his bed is 78% more successful in life. I'm like, true? He's like, I just made that up. It sounds good though.
First you get up, you put water on the face to wake up the brain. And then
splash.
Then you put toothpaste on the toothbrush. And
you start
to rub it against the teeth to get the freshness. And then you do 100 sit-ups.
I go circular on my teeth. That's just me. But yeah, he was so fun. And then he did, the catchphrases are funny. And also he liked that we were both not out of shape. Remember that?
He asked us, and we're not making how do you fellas stay so lean? So he's asking us. Lean. I go, what? We're actually kind of tiny. But then at that point I thought, well, I'm going to do 10 push-ups for Arnold and have him comment on it. So you'll have to stay tuned to see
That's
what
toward
happens.
The end. You got to hang in there. Wait for it.
Wait for it. Don't pull off and finish it because you're gonna
even though when in a normal Instagram when it says wait for it, I say go die. I'm not waiting for anything. Don't tell me what to do.
Right.
Because it's like 8 seconds or 4 seconds. Wait for I'm here. Wait. What am I waiting for? I'm watching it. All right. Well, here's before I go on that tangent. Here's Arnold. We had a blast with it, and go buy his book. It's a good book.
And we did it live at his incredible office building complex. Arnold has just walked into the building.
He goes, you know me.
I see.
What
already?
Not only lions get out of their cages.
A long time ago. Don't say anything if you don't have anything positive to say.
So it'll be kind of quiet.
What is this? He's got wires all over. Let me do your trick. It's a little
How long
tiny.
Have you guys been doing this?
This
18 months.
18 months.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And how did you end up together?
I met him before SNL, believe it or not, in the 80s at the clubs and stuff.
80s, Jesus.
Well, whatever. And then I moved back down to LA and we started hanging out. And then I had a little podcast I was doing. He came on. Then our manager said, you got to do this. So that was it.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great idea because I think it creates more energy if you have two people.
Yeah, it does.
Kind of back and forth type of thing.
Makes it a lot
It's
easier.
a lot better, yeah. It makes it go quicker, and he's pretty smart. And we both know a lot of the same people. This guy is. And
it happens. Sorry, Arnold. You're smart too.
Oh, man.
Let me tell you.
I mean, it's really... I think this is the first one that we are doing with comedians.
That's a fun one.
Am I right?
Yeah.
First podcast, yeah. Because, I mean, you guys made me laugh.
Let me tell you.
More often than anything. I mean, when I...
Conan's a comedian.
You know, Conan.
But not as funny as we are.
Yeah. I mean, sort of.
Conan's
but I don't see Conan as much as a comedian.
Well, he's not a stand-up, but he's
But
funny.
but in
Yeah.
general, because
Yeah.
I know him more as a host
Right.
of a very popular
Talk
kind
show.
of a talk show, right?
Yeah.
So I have done his show several
Yes.
times, but they're not as a stand-up comedy and all this stuff. But I
Right.
mean, we have all known each other on a personal level,
Yeah.
and have had a lot of fun together on the personal.
Oh, yeah.
And then you, of course, you guys came to the White House.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, we're doing the Hans and Franz thing during
did
the
them.
because we had this great American workout,
Yes,
which was
I
kind of
remember.
like a copy of what Kennedy used to do
Mm-hmm.
in the White House. Because all the other presidents really never really capitalized on this idea of President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports, right?
Right.
Created under Eisenhower, but then Kennedy made it kind of
The
become a
50-mile
reality.
walk.
I did
Yeah, exactly,
that
yeah.
in school. It was when I was
Yeah,
in
I know.
sixth grade. It was like 50 push-ups, pull-ups. You did all that.
That's
It made
right.
you stay in
you
shape.
got a medal when you
Yeah.
could do
Yeah.
certain things. And so what happened is that we had now the event, the Great American
Yeah.
Workout at the South Lawn of the White House.
Yes.
But you don't just want to make it a fitness event, right? And make it boring. So we wanted to make it hip. So we asked them, Hans and Franz had
These
to
two
come to the
idiots,
White
yeah.
House and entertain the people and the kids and everybody. And they made everyone laugh and howl. And it was just huge. And it got us also, because of them, great ratings.
Yeah, good
And
press.
so all the press was there. And, they were like the big shots from Saturday Night Live. And
Yeah.
Hans and Franz still looking for, Uncle Arnold. And all of that
And we
kind of
walked
stuff,
around and just berated
walk
everyone.
around, exactly.
Don't undo your belt, you might cause a avalanche.
Yeah, and then flip everyone
Yeah.
through the air to land in their own baby poop.
That was
Yeah,
that was one of the
exactly.
best. That
Yeah.
that and your buttocks are like marshmallows. You're lucky I don't have a campfire here.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they're threatening to burn someone.
Well, Hans and Franz was so funny. It was so great when you did it. You didn't
Wow.
host, right? You just came
Yeah,
on.
I was on SNL. I was a
Yeah.
guest. He invited me to come to
Yeah.
the show and to be a guest there. And with Danny DeVito. One
Yes.
time I was there with Danny DeVito.
Yes, and Danny
when he
was the
came out
pit
with
bull.
twins.
Yeah. And he was like, trying to attack
Yeah,
the audience.
exactly,
You were
yeah.
holding him back.
Right.
But we didn't know how you were going to react. We started doing it and we heard Arnold's coming. Arnold's coming. And then they said, Arnold's waiting down the hall. This is in 8H in New York.
Yeah.
So Kevin and I are a little nervous. We went in and you're in some chair and you lean back and you go, how do I do the accent again, fellas?
Right.
And then we knew you loved it.
Well, no, but to me it was heaven, because you have to understand that when I first wanted to get into acting, one of the first things they said was, it won't work. No one in America has ever made it that had an accent. No one could be a leading man or anything
is
like
tough,
this. He says
yeah.
it's really tough to do. People want to hear someone talk like John Wayne, like Clint Eastwood, and or Al Pacino. This were the guys, So anyway, so then I realized that I had to kind of make the accent actually something, not to hide it, but to actually make something
Yes,
of it. But then out
accentuate
of
it,
nowhere, without me controlling it, they came along and they legitimized it, because now there was someone that actually took that subject of accent and had a good time with it. Not to make fun of it, but to actually entertain people with it and to do it overboard. And so all of a sudden, from that point on, it became much more accepted, the whole thing, and it really became much easier for me.
Oh, I didn't even know
and
that.
it's also
but-
comedy, and you doing a lot of action. It's good. Now you're involved in comedy. It's just one more thing in the comedy field
Right.
that people think of you, and then it's funny.
And it's also
yeah.
you were in on the joke. You were inside the
Absolutely.
tent.
No, I
and
loved
we're all
it.
having fun.
I always had
Yeah.
a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
And he always was the first one to be able to make fun of myself
Yeah.
and of my situation, the body, coming from Germany, all of this
Right.
kind of stuff, the German
The
accent.
flabby little puny arms.
Exactly, yeah.
And the little girly man, which girly man was to me was just like, gym talk. Like, you look your little puny arms, you look like a girly man.
Yeah.
And then when you became governor, sometimes you would use that to describe the legislatures, right?
Yeah.
You would use some of it, that bunch of girly men. Or how-
Exactly. So I would go on and say, that we should sign this bill. But, there's the legislators up there in Sacramento. They're such girly men. They're afraid to do the hard work and all this stuff. And they were really offended by the whole thing. So I actually stopped it, because I said, I want to work with those guys. I didn't mean it in a negative
Right.
way.
No,
I just wanted to I didn't want to insult them. I actually wanted to just entertain the crowd.
Right.
I was out in the shopping mall, and I was like saying to the people, I said, be with me, like vote for those initiatives that are coming up in November. I said, I have to take it directly to you, the initiatives, because this girly man in Sacramento wouldn't go for it. And they were laughing, you know, and that day when I went back to Sacramento, how could you call us girly man? This is not fair, for you to do. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't want to offend you.
Yeah, to me, it was just silly. The New York Times called me and tried to get me to explain what it meant. And to me, it was just two guys lifting weights in a gym teasing each other.
Yeah.
There was no homophobic undertones
No,
at
not
all.
at all. But today, you have to be so
course.
careful when you say all this stuff.
Yeah, if you say baby man, your little
Everything.
baby, and then they're like, why is that against babies? And
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly.
Yes, as a baby man.
But what I like is we were saying, you as a politician are one of the few that you were putting humor in, and it does make people listen.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It just,
You did it
it's not
before
so
Trump.
boring.
Yeah.
You had nicknames for foes and stuff.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
You came out of the box as a breath of fresh air in California, like the anti-politician, telling it like it is. I remember your first debate, I think, was they tax us when we go to the bathroom in the morning. They tax us when we drive in our cars.
Yeah.
They tax, and it was such a
When you have a
compelling.
cup of coffee, they tax us. When you go to the gas station. Yeah, tax, morning, noon, and night. Taxing.
But that made you stand out.
Yeah.
But anyway, so your book,
Yeah,
I
your
read
book.
it.
It's called, you don't know this, but it's called Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life.
Yes, your ghostwriter.
I'm going to read you one chapter. No, I'm kidding.
This, by the way, this is true. Chapter 1. Oh, you have the book.
Oh, fuck yeah, I do. I got questions. I got books.
My
I got
brother and
everything.
I've got 3 older brothers. We have this thing that we used to say for
All
years.
registered girly men.
We would always say, what would Arnold do when we're up against any kind of challenge or something negative? I'm not kidding. What would Arnold do? Because I noticed now I'm just because I'm with you, I'm talking with a slight
so
Austrian
funny.
accent the whole time. But I'm always thinking, what would Arnold do in this situation? Which would always be positive. Always. So I'm not surprised at all you wrote this book.
Book is a lot about positivity, pretty much overall.
Yeah, it's about how can anybody, no matter who you are and where you are in the world, be more successful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And because there's just certain things that hold us back, and it's simple things sometimes, like the fear of failure, or picking little goals rather than big goals, and whatever it is, or listening to the naysayers, whatever it may be. As I say, I'm trying to go through this in this book and to just tell people, here there's 7 rules. I could put 15 rules in there, but since the publisher said that they should have no more than
7.
260 pages, so we made it. We kept it in that kind of a framework. But in any case, it's basically just simple rules and tools that will help people to become more successful and more free and more able to kind of like go and expand and follow their dreams. And how do you create a dream for yourself? How do you create a vision for yourself and all that? So that's what I get into in the book.
I think lately there's sort of a victim card being played too much, and it's nice to have refreshing old school. There's a chapter, work your ass off. It's just very basic, but it's not what people say out there as much anymore.
Yeah, but I talk about exactly what I did. When I came over to this country, I was into working.
Mm-hmm.
I was not shying away from working. I say, I'm willing to work, even though I was a Mr. Universe several times over, and Mr. World
7?
and Mr. Olympia 7 times.
Jesus.
Not at that point. In the early 70s, I was like 5 times Mr. Universe, Mr. World, Mr. International, and 2 times Mr. Olympia. So now
there was
I said
nowhere to
that
But you're
go.
already at the top
well, no,
of your game.
it was kind of like in bodybuilding there was no money. We didn't make any money.
It's like Miss America.
Right.
So it was like
It's
one
great.
of those crazy things. We had to make a living. So, I started a mail order business to kind of like sell booklets on how to train your biceps and your chest and all of those kind of things.
So with 20
But this-
steps to do that.
That's right. So, but the thing is still, we need to let's go out and work. So my friend Franco Colombo,
Yeah.
the bodybuilding
I remember
champion.
him.
Remember him very
he
well
was-
and loved you and him together.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is so funny.
he was a bricklayer,
Mm-hmm.
professional masonry worker. Learned it in Italy, in Sardinia, then continued working in Germany. That's where I met him. And so when he came over here and we kind of always trained together, I said to Frank, I said, Frank, you're a masonry worker, you're a bricklayer. Why don't we start a bricklaying business? I said, in America, they love this European bullshit. I said, so we call it as an Italian masonry expert.
Yeah.
And we put a little ad in the LA Times. Well, the next day, after we put this ad in, beyond our knowledge, I mean, an earthquake happened.
Expectation.
So it was the earthquake happened. It's 1971.
Business explodes.
So all of a
'cause the whole
sudden now
town
the
collapsed.
chimneys fall down, the patios, the
Timing's
walls,
everything.
And you had
everything.
nothing to do with
so
it?
now we started getting. It's funny. Nothing to do with it. but anyway, the next thing I know is we get all these phone calls. Can you come out and give me an estimate of how to rebuild my chimney and how to rebuild my fireplace, how to do my patio? I have a huge crack going through the whole patio, and we cannot continue like that. Blah blah blah. So Frank and I started going out and doing estimates. And of course, we were not really experienced in all this stuff. Sure. So we just started, measuring the stuff. And then we had always arguments about, I was always kind of like the good guy. He was the bad Italian who always charges too much. And then I would say, this is outrageous, Frankie. You cannot charge $7,600 for this stuff. We can do it cheaper than that. No. And then we started in German. And in Italian, we started arguing. No one understood what we were saying. And we were just imagining. I said to the guy, I wouldn't say to the customer, I said, well, I got him down now finally. So we can do it for $5,000. And they said, thank you so much. And they hugged me. Yeah. And then we did the job and all this.
How do you teach street smarts like that? One is the Italian name in the paper and then the collapsing. But then this whole song and dance, I mean, that's just like street smarts. Or what would you call that IQ?
Well, but remember that when I was in school, I was an apprentice in selling.
Oh, so
when I was 15 years old, instead of going to go on to a university career or anything like this, I learned to be a salesperson. And so I was kind of an apprentice for 3 years, and I learned how to sell. Yeah. So sell. This is, and I have one of the chapters in the book that is in there, because I realized of how important selling is. So the art of selling was, in this case, was when I go to a customer and he says, can you tell me how much it costs to redo this chimney? It sounds better if you go like you do in the store, 50% off.
Yes, no matter what.
But first they add the 50% and then they give you 50% off. So I mean, so my idea was, I said, I measured it out and I said to Frank, I said, I think it would cost us, by the time we buy the material, which will be $2,000, our workmanship, it would take us a week to do this, $1,500 each is $3,000, so that's $5,000. So then Frank said, yeah, $5,000, we can do it. So then I would go to the guy and says, he wants $7,800. And the guy would freak out and say, oh my God, I don't know if I can afford this. This is like outrageous. I said, well, let me work on it. And so I would go to Frank, and then all of a sudden we would have this screaming match in the corner.
Oh, this is outrageous.
Das ist zu teuer. Das ist hier überhaupt nicht so viel Arbeit. Blah, 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 blah. And then he in Italian and all of this stuff. And then the next thing is I go back to the guy and says, I brought him down to $5,000. The guy says, oh, thank God. Thank God. Oh. And they will hug me and then we get the job. So it's about, so we gave them a good deal, but I mean, we also kind of sold the idea that they got a special deal.
Did you do physical work or just sort of?
No. I was the guy that was mixing the cement and the sand and the water.
Skill.
So I picked up the mixer at the construction place where you rent construction equipment, and I picked it up with my car. They put it on in the back. And I just took it to the construction.
You just used blenders to save money?
And I just, exactly.
Did they notice how pumped up you guys were? Did they comment on it?
You comment on the song, on the Speedos?
And what did you say?
We said we're bodybuilders. And they said, but why we really didn't want to say that we have to work for a living. We just said, look, we have two choices. One of the things is, I lost one of the Mr. Universe contests because I didn't have enough of a tan.
So that's why you're out there?
I said, which was in Florida, which is really true. One of the reasons was I didn't have a tan. The other one was I was a little bit too chubby. I wasn't cut
chubby,
enough.
like
yeah, exactly.
4%
This
body
is
fat.
pre-Spade.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
everyone.
So anyway, so I said, I lost my bodybuilding competition because I didn't have enough of a tan.
Yeah.
I said that
Yeah.
will never ever happen again.
Right.
I said, so now not only am I training every day on Muscle Beach down there in Venice Beach, on the weightlifting platform. I said, but I want to work out here. We rip off the shirt and we work outside because then you get the natural tan all over the place.
Yeah.
You get brown. I said, and that this way how we can win. So this is why we work a few hours every day in the sun.
Right.
You give
And
them that
so
long
this was one of the rap. I said, and he happens to be a bricklayer, an outstanding bricklayer from Italy. He did all the special masonry work. He even worked in the Vatican.
And the work was
Vatican,
good.
Yeah,
So-
basically built the Vatican.
So I don't want to jump ahead here, but then is the biggest selling point you did, and how did you apply this to selling yourself to Hollywood?
Yeah, Hollywood.
Not wanting to play the second or third lead, but starting at movie star.
Yeah, did you not do any
Small
what
parts?
most people do, small part, or
Yeah,
you went right
I
to Conan?
No, I did, but my goal was to be a leading man.
Yeah.
So I remember, for instance, Lucille Ball would call me.
Jeez.
And say I was at Gold's Gym working out, and she saw me on the Merv Griffin show.
Arnold.
And she said, she called me.
Arnold, this is Lucy
Exactly,
Ball.
that's right,
Pick
yeah.
her, a little bit of
Yeah.
smoking, yeah.
That's right.
I met her.
And so she says, I saw you on the Merv Griffin show. I want you to come in and read for this part Joe Sandow, which is a masseur from Italy. There's an Italian accent, but most people don't know the difference between a German accent and an Italian accent, blah, blah, blah. Come on in and read. And so I would go in there and I was saying, oh my God, there's a TV show with Art Carney, Lucille Ball.
It's huge.
Art Carney just won the Academy Awards and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So this was like really big. So I went in there and she opened up the script and said, read this part. But I had no idea what that means. So so she says, well, I need to come in and my back hurts, and she says, how do you know how to massage? And I said, my name is Joe Sandow, and I am from Italy. I'm a truck driver from Italy, and in Italy, every truck driver also does massages. And she says, oh wait.
Yeah, you went to my acting.
She says, let's go and take the script away.
Yeah, no
She
script.
that's
says
better.
the idea of it is this, blah, blah. So she explained to me the idea, and then she asked me some questions.
Right.
And then I would just say, I say, I'm from Italy, I'm a truck driver, and my name is Joe Sandow. And of course, in Italy, everyone does massages. And then she was like laughing, and everyone else was laughing.
Right.
And then she says, you see, guys, I told you he will be good. I mean, he's not used to the script idea and the reading idea, but I mean, by the time we shoot this next Friday, he will be perfect. I promise you guys that. And are you here ready to be here every day for rehearsal? And I didn't even know what rehearsal meant.
Oh, God.
But in any case, but the bottom line, I said, whatever you want me to do, I do. And so I came every day. I worked with her every day. She was very patient. And we shot then on Friday. And she kept saying, and you need to project more. You need to project more because we're shooting live. So I had no idea what live
audience,
meant.
yeah.
I had no idea
don't know
what
what
any of
project
that meant. So anyway, we rehearsed, and then we shot this scene that I'm ringing the doorbell. The green light lights up at the door. And I open out the door. She opens up the door. And she says, you are the masseur? And I say, yeah, I'm the masseur. She says, come on in. And so I go in there, and all of a sudden, huge applause.
Oh my God! You don't know that there's people.
So now
there.
I'm standing with my massage table, and I'm looking out like this, staring out. I'm in shock. I'm frozen.
First time you
I'm
heard
frozen.
an like
So this
Cindy
is not what
Brady.
the scene's supposed to be frozen.
Right.
To come in there and to be like this Italian flamboyant guy
Yeah.
that opens up the massage table professionally, chuck, boom, flips it open and says, lie down.
Now you're just
so
frozen.
I'm not standing there like this, totally frozen. And then she says, what, on the massaging me? Get the table set up. So she immediately
Oh, she
saw what
played
was
off
happening.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. And then so I said, oh, yeah, exactly. And the applause continued on. So I flipped the table over. Now, of course, I only had the tank top on, so I had like the big guns hanging out and the whole thing.
Did
like
you get
this.
applause
But anyway,
for the guns?
it was fantastic. The whole thing. Art Carney came in the
worked
middle of
out.
the scene.
Yeah.
The whole thing was like a 7-minute scene, and it played like a jewel. I remembered all my lines. She said it was fantastic. And then I tell you something. From that moment on, Lucille Ball, as long as she lived, she always wrote me a letter. Every movie that I did after that. She saw me on Streets of San Francisco to play a guest starring role, which I got after that 2 years later. She saw Stay Hungry, when that came out with Barbara Raffleson. That he directed with Jeff Bridges and Sally Fields. She wrote me a letter. I'm so proud of you. Arnold, you're fantastic. I knew you had this potential. You're going to be a big star. I mean, what a sweetheart of a woman. As tough as she was. Everyone knows she was one of the toughest women in town. And Art Carney could tell you that because she kind of directed the show, even though she was not the director. And then Gary Morton, who was her husband, could also tell you how tough she was.
She ran the whole studio. I mean,
I did a pilot with Desi Arnaz Jr. called Whacked Out, and we're doing the pilot. Audience is there, and we're really bombing. I mean, it's silent. And all of a sudden, I hear a voice from the bleachers going, "What's wrong with you people?" So Lucille Ball had grabbed the microphone and was yelling at the audience, "This is funny." Then the whole audience flipped out, made a big line, and it took an hour and a half for everyone to get her autograph.
That's fantastic.
You know, for her to take time to do that with you is pretty nice, because she could have just said, "Tough reading, get out, next." But
absolutely,
to work with you and to be that big of a star and get you going. And that was really probably one of the biggest things, even just confidence wise.
Yeah.
No, but I as much as people were negative about the idea of a muscle guy getting into movies, because they felt kind of the 60s, the era of the Hercules movies. Steve Reeves and the Reg Park and Mark Forrest and Lou Degny and Gordon Mitchell and all those guys.
They're kind of bad movies or B movies.
They were they were not significant movies, but I mean,
Indies.
for me, big, because when I was 15 years old and I saw Steve Reeves and Reg Park on the screen, I said, "Oh my God, can you believe bodybuilders then become leading man in movies?"
It's a long shot, though.
So that was my motivation to get into bodybuilding. I said to myself, "Oh, then I can be an actor." So then I go to Hollywood. There's Muscle Beach and there's Hollywood. So you have your own fantasies as a kid with 15. So that was my fantasy. And I made my fantasy become a reality. And I talk about that in the book, how important it is that we have a vision and that we have a goal and that we have something to chase, no matter how stupid it may sound to other people. But just don't listen to the naysayers. Chase your dreams. And that's exactly what I did.
And that part of the book, don't listen. That seems like a lot of people, like I would get my feelings hurt a lot in the early days before I got on Saturday Night Live. If someone said I wasn't good or whatever, what are the mind tricks you played to get around that? Like they're saying, "You're terrible, you're nothing, this isn't going to make it, that's not good." And you twist it in your mind.
I didn't have to really twist much, because I just saw my vision very clearly in front of me becoming eventually a Mr. Universe, for me eventually coming to America and eventually getting into movies. I saw that. And it was so believable that I had such faith in my vision that there was no one that could talk me out of it.
They just didn't get it in your head. You're like,
I understood
doesn't
that when someone has never done something, that's like,
Sure,
Nelson Mandela always said, everything is always impossible until someone does it.
Yeah.
And this is exactly, there was no Austrian ever that became Mr. Universe. So when I say I want to be Mr. Universe, of course they laughed, because they thought, well, if he says he wants to be a ski champion, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But not to be a Mr. Universe or to be a weightlifter, something like this. Weightlifting was kind of dominated by the Russians. Bodybuilding was dominated by the Americans or by the British. So, I mean, what is he talking about
So you beat
here?
the odds once in a big way, and now you're going to do it in an even bigger way to come all the way to America and know the language. Did you know the language at all when you got here? It took you a while.
No, I mean, there was a lot of subtle things, like I said, when Lucille Ball said, we're going to go and read, come over for a read. I did not know what that meant. I did not know when she said, we're going to shoot this live, that this means there will be a live audience and we will be live, the filming and not taping and stuff like that. So all of this stuff I did not know, but I learned the language quickly. I went to college. I remember I went to Santa Monica City College and took English classes, and then eventually took business classes, and all the stuff that I learned as an apprentice, selling, marketing, publicity, and accounting mathematics and all of this stuff, micro and macroeconomics, and then eventually got a degree in that, which was also not something that I planned on doing. But I was like going part-time to college for 8 years. I mean, think about it. From 1969 to 1977. It was like I just wanted to educate myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a student visa, so I couldn't go full-time to college. So I had to always just take 2 classes. So sometimes even to cheat a little bit, I took 2 classes at Santa Monica City College. And then at night I would go over to UCLA and take some extension courses. And then sometimes I would take classes at West Los Angeles College and stuff like that. But eventually I got like almost 300 units of credits, and then they gave me a degree.
You know, it's so easy to quit along the way in this guy. There's so many hard obstacles that people just go, oh, I can't do that.
8
and
years
take
of
2
college.
classes, forget it.
I have the question. Did you, when you were thinking of your vision, Mr. Olympia, and when you envision yourself as a movie star, did you envision Conan the Barbarian? Did you ever envision Twins and Kindergarten Cop? It
No.
evolved?
No.
Conan the Barbarian, I mean,
What I
using your
envisioned-
physicality.
John Wayne, Sean
What I
Connery.
envisioned was just like, Reg Park and Steve Reeves. I said to myself,
Yeah.
maybe I can somehow use the muscles and get into movies. I did not know that there are eras.
Yeah.
That there was the 60s was the muscle era where they made all these muscle movies and stuff
Oh,
like
right.
that. That the 70s would be kind of like the opposite.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Woody Allen and Dustin Hoffman
Peter
and Al
Frampton, the
Pacino
rock stars
and all
were
those
skinny.
guys
That's
exactly
right.
would
Yeah.
be the stars.
Yeah.
And so that everyone said to me, he says, Arnold, those guys weigh 100 pounds less than you do. You can't put you in a movie with those guys. It doesn't work. So forget about it. So it was all that kind of thing. So, but eventually, I think that after they did Stay Hungry,
Yeah.
and I played a bodybuilding champion in Stay Hungry in the movie, and I got the Golden Globe Awards for Best Acting Debut for that
Yeah.
movie.
That's
so that
huge.
really helped me.
Did you improvise
because-
those lines though? Some of
No, there was in Stay Hungry it was all written, and
you were natural in that.
and well, thank you. And then Pumping Iron came out, and then that was a big hit.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden people started saying, it was Pumping Iron actually that made Ed Pressman, who just passed away recently,
Right.
famous
Big producer,
producer,
right?
who saw me in Pumping Iron and then got the rights of the Conan. The
After
Conan
he saw
rights.
you and then he got
exactly
the
for
rights.
the for
You're
movies.
inching over to like
That's
more
right.
mainstream, and then you're going to get away from only strongman parts. Like when I moved here, when I got a script the first time, I just read it to them. They handed me the script and I just read it back to them, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know," because they go, "Come read." It was the same thing. I don't know sides, all the lingo I didn't know, and it was hard for me to get work. And I'm only this strong, so
Well,
I know it was a little bit of a detriment.
Dave, did you find it tells you something about yourself? Like me in the early 80s, I go to audition, I walk in a room and I see baby faced guys with weak chins and little arms.
Baby man.
They all look like me. I mean, you would walk in reading for something. Would you see a lot of other big guys waiting to read?
No, I never read again.
You never read
Oh,
it?
never
that was
again.
it.
No, that
You
was
never
it.
auditioned?
Wow.
No, never.
What?
I knew that this auditioning, this is not my bag.
That's not my
I'm
bag.
going to tap out on
Oh,
the
shit.
But for some
Nobody.
reason or the other, from that point on, they came to me, like Bob Rafelson came to me and said, I want you to do Stay Hungry, but you have to take acting classes. Yeah, I get you,
Sure.
with this guy, Eric Morris, who is an acting coach. He says he was working with Chuck Nicholson and blah, blah, blah. He says, I want you to take acting lessons, and then you will come in for a reading. So I was like working with this guy for 4 months.
So you weren't auditioning.
Before I got
Yeah.
Right.
Bob Rafelson did this as a joke in a way, and he had someone tape it. And I came in and I did the scenes for him, and but it was basically already signed for the movie, right? So it was not really that was in danger. But so anyway, I did the scenes, and he again was very, very complimentary. But this is the sweetness of people in this town that I noticed, kind of how supportive they can be.
Right.
Like Bob Rafelson immediately says, "Hey, stop it." I said, "What?" He says, "Look at my hair. Look at my hair on my forearm." I said, "Okay, I see your hair in the forearm." He says, "It's standing up. Do you know this hair in my forearm? When that stands up, it means that I totally bought in a scene. So what you just did, I totally bought in. It was so touching. It was so emotional. It was so well delivered. We don't even have to go any further. This is it. You have the part.
Wow.
And this is how it would be like that. And the same was with Jeff Bridges and with Sally Fields. They know I was a beginner on this whole thing. But, oh, man, they were so supportive when we did the scenes. Sally Fields was, like, extraordinary. And so was Jeff Bridges, so supportive and everything.
Just take extra time.
I had really
not
a
always
good experience.
Yeah.
And then I think Landsberg, when he hired me for, the Jane Mansfield story with Lonnie Anderson, where I played Mickey Haggerty, because Jane Mansfield's husband was a Hungarian guy.
Right. So
So he was Mr. Universe. And so I played that character, basically. And so with an accent, the accent was perfect. Then eventually I got the Conan gig.
Yeah.
And it was a big international kind of a movie with Universal Studios.
how much of that
did
gross?
well?
Like 200 million or something?
No, in those days there was no
They-
200 million. But I mean, it grossed on, I think, 70 or 80 million dollars.
That's
I don't know
huge,
what it
yeah.
Like
was, but I mean,
300
it was
million,
like, it was like really, it was big. And it was number one at the box office when it opened up. So everyone was really happy. And they signed me up for a second one. And that's when it was my first, with the second Conan, I made the first $1 million.
And how
for a
old were you
movie.
when you first made that million on the second Conan movie?
I
About
must
30?
have been like 33 or 34 years old.
Is
What
this
did that
going to
mean to
mainstream?
you coming from where you
Right.
came from in Austria to get $1 million?
Well, my dream was, I
Mentally.
said, I want to be like Clint Eastwood, because Clint Eastwood, Charles Bronson, and Marlon Brando were the only guys that were getting over $1 million a movie in the 70s, in the early 70s. So they were like the kings. So I said to myself, wouldn't that be cool if I get $1 million a movie? Maybe, I always shot for the stars, always the big dream. And then eventually it happened. So I felt fantastic.
Yeah.
I felt delighted that I made $1 million and that I'm a millionaire. But I was already a millionaire before then, because I was insisting on making my money in real estate. Like, for instance, this building that we're sitting in right now, I built it in 1984. So in 1984, I bought
I'll give you a million for it.
Before Conan?
At least it was no, it was not before Conan, but it was before.
It was cheaper, though.
Before the
before
second
we went
Yeah.
Terminator and all those
And
things.
where'd you get the money to buy the real estate?
Well,
did
I
you
was
physically build
working on construction sites. I
saving?
was doing exhibitions and all this, and I started saving money. And then there was an apartment building for sale in Santa Monica for $240,000. Now that's like the day,
Yeah.
the $10 million. Or
Yeah.
whatever, I don't know what. But in any case, it was $240,000, and I needed $37,000 down payment. I had in my bank account 27. So I went to Joe Weider, who was the publisher
Muscle.
of the
The big-
bodybuilding
yeah,
magazine.
Bodybuilding.
Exactly. And I said, can you go and loan me $10,000 for 1 year? And he said, absolutely. And so he would loan me the $10,000. I would put the $37,000 down, and I bought this building, this office building. 2 years later, someone comes to me and offers me now $500,000 for the same building. This is how much real estate went up in the 70s because of the high inflation rate.
Right.
So I now immediately sold this building, took that profit and traded up to a 12-unit apartment building. Then I sold that 2 years later and traded up to a 36-unit apartment
When's your
building.
book on how to become a millionaire?
And
Real
this
estate
is
coming out?
so I was
any
like
extra
really
money?
very quickly in the 70s. I was already a millionaire.
Without giving away numbers, but I'm always fascinated. How much real estate did you end up buying? And was it all Southern
You still into
California
it?
where you bought property? Or did you buy it other places?
Well, I
too?
also in other places in
Yeah.
Colorado, for instance, we bought a whole square block in Colorado, and then eventually there was a
Square
high-rise
block.
built on it. Yeah,
How much was the square block?
Square blocks going for?
It was not that because we bought up pieces at the time,
Yeah.
and then eventually it was a square block, and then we were able to sell this to someone that wanted to build a high
a square
rise,
block.
Right.
and then we were able to get cut in 10% of the high rise and blah 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 and all that stuff. So anyway, so I was always felt very comfortable with the real estate business, but at the same time, the rule is don't have all your irons in the same fire. So I was, investing in stocks and in bonds and all kinds
Yeah.
of other kind of like startup businesses and so on. And so my investments always were very good. I never lost money on any investment as far as that goes. There was a huge, and listen to this, it was really funny because I bought the first money I got, I saved, I bought land out in the Antelope Valley. Why? Because I read somewhere when I came over to this country that they're going to build a supersonic airport out there. And so I said, oh, I'm going to go without telling anyone. I'm going to sneak out there and I'm going to buy some property.
With a knife in your mouth.
Exactly. And so this is what I did. I bought for $5,000. I had only $1,000, so I had to pay off the $5,000. I bought this property out there. And then, of course, they never built the airport.
I thought the United States Air Force is out there.
No, but the Air Force is out, but I mean, the supersonic airport, they passed a law, an international law, that said no supersonic aircrafts can fly over land. So that only over the ocean. So that killed the idea. And so they kept the LA airport here. So my investment went down the tube. So everyone was laughing about it. But here's what I think. Joe Weider said to me, he says, Arnold, don't worry about it. This will be a good investment for your grandchildren. Yeah. Keep it. Forget about it. Yeah. I did. I totally forgot about it and I kept it. Today it's worth $1.5 million. Just to show you a $5,000 property. Right. So I didn't even lose money on that investment. Yeah. So this is just to show you that, if you really hold on to it, if you're not doing any fire sale.
For the rest of the podcast?
Yeah, exactly.
How to invest, Arnold? What would you do right now?
What was after the one you just said? Oh, Conan. What was the first sort of mainstream?
Conan 2. And then,
what was...
Because that was kind of mainstream.
The funny thing was my dreams and my desires grew. And I'm sure it's the same with you.
Well,
First you want to do stand-up comedy, but then you say, wouldn't it be great if I do a TV show? Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if I do a movie? So it grows, you get more and more hungry. And so the same thing happened to me. So I said to myself, wouldn't it be cool if I could do movies that doesn't rely on muscles?
Right.
So what happened was Jim Cameron comes along. Yeah. And he says to me, with Mike Medavoy, and they say to me, he says, do you want to do this movie called Terminator? And I said, yeah. I said, that would be great. Can you send me the script? They said, sure. So they sent me the script and they said, it would be this character, Reese, which is the heroic character in the movie. And I said, that would be a really great, great role. And then for some reason or the other, when I met with Jim Cameron and we had lunch, I talked the entire lunch about Terminator. Here's Jim, I said, I know you have not directed much, but I say, here's what is important when you direct this guy, whoever plays the Terminator. He says, well, the character that we hired for it is O.J. Simpson. He says, but the studio is kind of like negative about him because they think that he cannot sell the idea of being a killing machine. Oh. He says O.J. is not enough of a killer.
He's kind of nice.
He looks too soft for that. So
these are direct quotes.
So he says, then this is the truth. I mean, this is like unbelievable.
He's doing Hertz commercials.
And so they said, so this is not really set in stone. The whole thing is that, but after listening to you, Jim Cameron said, after listening to you talking to me about the Terminator, that he has to be trained to be like a machine, and he cannot walk like a human being, that he cannot talk like a human being. He says, you're absolutely correct. You take on it is perfect. He says, why don't you play the Terminator? Yeah. And I said, no. I said, look, I want to play Reese. I want to be the hero, not the villain. Yeah. I'm set up in my mind. Well, the way I shoot it, Arnold, it would be like a hero and a villain. Hero because he does all these unbelievable things and wipes everyone out. Villain because he's a machine. But you don't have to be responsible personally because you're a machine. You're directed by some higher power, so it's not like you going around killing things. So I said to myself, let me think about it. And so for a few days I thought about it, and then I said to myself, he's actually right. If he shoots this the right way, this could be really cool. And then I called him back and I said, okay, I'm in. And so there was the first movie where throughout the whole movie. Shirt didn't come off. No, never. Yeah. It was like leather jacket, and the whole thing like that. And from then I got the offer to do, after Terminator, to do Commando, Then after that, to do Predator, Running Man, and it went on and on
I
and
think
on.
I've
All of a
seen
sudden,
every one of your movies.
I was in.
Yeah.
I was accepted in Hollywood as the action hero.
Yes.
And it all came from Conan and from Terminator. So this was kind of it was my launching pad.
And you just had such a run at
You know,
films.
Dana, I saw a copy of Terminator when you said, your catchphrases are very short, which is
Right.
smart. I saw an early copy when you say, "Come with me if you want to live,"
Yeah.
and it was, "Come with me if you want to live because I know all the shortcuts in town. We can go down the 710 and we can get in a carpool lane, and the monster robot only can drive in the regular because he's one person." And I think it was better you tightened it because that
Come
seemed
with
like a
me if
long
you want to live.
catchphrase.
Yeah, you didn't want to be too wordy. In
Yeah,
that
it was too wordy. And so
with me.
the final script, "Come with me if you want to live."
They cut
better.
all that out,
Exactly.
and it was
There's
boom,
Hasta
boom,
La
boom.
Vista. There's you had a lot of good ones. Did you know at the time when you do those that these might be sort of cool little things to say?
No, you don't know.
Hasta la
I
vista,
mean,
baby.
we never know what will hit
Sure.
and what people really like. I mean, you wish you can say that and say, "Oh, this was written this way," or "I improvised it." It's not. It wouldn't be true. The reality of it is, we had no idea that even "I'll be back" would be a line that would be the most repeated kind of line.
Yeah.
You
In
know,
history.
anything. We just. I was
One of them.
arguing with Jim Cameron endlessly about "I will be back." He says, "No, I wrote I'll be back." I'm gonna say "I will be back" because I don't like the "I'll." This L thing sounds a little weird. I said, I will be back. And he says, "Who the fuck wrote the script?
Oh, yeah.
Are you the script writer now? Or am I the script writer?" I say, "You're the script writer." And he says, "Okay, so we say, I'll be back. And if you want, we can shoot it 10 different ways. If that makes you feel comfortable," he says, "but so let's just do that. I'll be back, not I will be back. That's bullshit." And so I was arguing with him about
But you know
the
what's
line.
funny is
It was right.
And luckily, he
robotically,
was so right. And
The
he made me
rhythm.
"I
say
will
it.
be back" sounds almost more robotic, and you were right.
Yeah, I
in
know,
that
but I mean,
respect.
that's so
But
he
it's better
just
the way
loved
he-
"I'll be
yeah.
back," and so we did it 10 times. And when the movie came out, everyone wanted me to repeat that line. And so you don't know. We
never
had
know.
no idea this is going to happen. We had no idea that, kind of like all the stuff, "Hasta la vista, baby" in Terminator 2,
Right.
or "Get to the chopper," is stupid lines.
Get to the chopper.
It's just because the way I say it,
yeah.
because Germans cannot pronounce the "r" on the end. So
Right.
so everything is chopper.
What was
It's
the
not
name?
a tumor.
This
It's
is
not a
really-
tumor.
Yeah, so when I
tumor.
say
That's a
tumor,
great one.
so when I say it's not a tumor, when we rehearsed for Kindergarten Cop,
Mhm.
and I did the rehearsal with the kids, and I said it's not a tumor. All the kids started laughing, even though it was supposed to be an intense scene.
'Cause it just
so
sounded
then
funny.
Ivan Reitman looked and said, "This is funny."
Now we got a
They're all
joke.
laughing. He says, "Say it the same way. Don't change anything."
fucking funny.
So anyway, so those lines became kind of famous because the way I say it with my accent. And so if someone else would have said it, wouldn't have made
It's
anything.
musical. It's a
Yeah.
musicality. "I will be back" has a different rhythm comedically. "I'll be back."
Yeah,
It's so
exactly.
intense. Didn't you do some where you would drop guys off, things for dropping by, and you drop them off a cliff? Those kinds of lines
And
too.
the guy says, "You promised to kill me last." Sally. I said, "Sally, remember I promised to kill you last?" And he says, "Yeah." I said, "I lied."
yeah,
And
there
then
you
it just
go.
stopped. So
Mr.
I lied.
Freeze had a couple.
Then everyone,
too.
all the kids started running around, and the parents were saying, he says, "You promised me that you're not going to get an F in school." He said, "I lied."
I like.
Yeah.
That's great.
So all the kids
You
were
have more
repeating that.
comedy hits than most comedians, to be honest.
But when
Yeah.
when we're talking about growing your vision,
Yeah.
like the last thing I ever thought about doing was doing comedies.
Yeah.
And but then when I was doing a bunch of movies, action movies, I said to myself, wouldn't it be cool if I could do a comedy? Because I felt I had a sense of humor. Yes, I agree that I didn't understand the American sense of humor as well. So that's why I asked my buddy Milton Berle to teach me about
Milton
comedy.
Berle?
Wow.
Yeah, Milton Berle, yeah. So he would write
He was friends
jokes
with
for me.
Lucille Ball as well.
Yeah, but he would write jokes for me all the time, Milton Berle. And so he always, called me fucking Nazi. I have to write these fucking jokes for this Nazi. God damn it, you know. But he loved hanging out with me and smoking cigars with me.
Yeah.
Because of him, I really got into the cigar smoking, actually. But it was like, he was really, really funny. And he would then go and start writing stuff for me when I was doing speeches. You know, and he would say, you can't go out there in a speech and start with a serious note. Right. So you got to go and say, first make the people like you. So say something funny.
Right.
You know, go out there and just say, you know, what you probably wonder, what am I doing here at a medical convention in Vegas? But, you know, the Dr. So-and-so came up to me and says, Arnold, I love you because you're a real good American and you believe in free speech, right? And I said, yeah, of course I believe in free speech. Good, because you're going to give one in Vegas on June 14th. You know, so then the people laugh and they say, and then they like you. And now whatever you say, they will like you. I said, so that was Milton Berle's kind of a thing. So he would write little jokes and little lines for me for the beginning to get going with the speeches. Yeah.
Lucille Ball, Milton Berle, you got some good ones.
Yeah, do you remember with the movie we almost made? We wrote a script. It was called Hans and Franz, the Girly Man Dilemma that we were going to do with you. It didn't get made, but it was a funny script.
Well, just I had that conversation just recently.
With Conan?
No, well, with Conan, yes, but I mean, we also internally had it because I said there are several scripts I said that were offered to me that I didn't do for whatever the reasons were. You know, timing, they were dismissed or they were never made or I couldn't wait. They couldn't wait for me, so they hired someone else. You know, like The Rock. Yeah, the movie that The Rock with
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, exactly. And what's the actor's name again? Nick Cage, exactly. Nicolas Cage. And so I was going to do that, but I mean, they couldn't wait for me because I was doing another movie first and all that stuff. So there were certain, but the one movie that I always loved, that I even would do today, is the script that we had together, where Hans and Franz finally comes to find the uncle, and they're now staying in his house.
Yes.
And I remember it was so funny.
Yes.
And I just remember when you came to me and you said, I have to go to the bathroom. Where's the bathroom? And I said, you go down the hall and where you see the deltoid, you go left. Then you see a calf, you go right.
Big giant
and then you see, exactly. There was all these huge sculptures of my body all over the house. And this was the direction that I gave you guys. It was just so stupid and so fucking funny.
Oh, yeah. And you had a war room we went into where you had, it was a whole puzzle, like a Monopoly game, but studios, Paramount, 20, and you had you're pushing pieces around. Stallone is going to do a movie over 20th Century Fox. We countered Paramount with a comedy, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
All of it was having fun with the image of Arnold Schwarzenegger at that time.
And what you guys did on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
So the idea was that they took the Saturday Night Live idea where you were searching for me and running into different kind of situations. But here you found me in this movie. And now it goes on from what do we do together. And so it was hilarious, the script. So, I mean, I think it still could be funny.
We read it on Conan's podcast, and it had a big reaction. People really liked it. It's from a different era in the sense that it's really big, funny, and silly, which I don't think they make enough of those movies.
You can modernize it.
Oh, yeah.
If you get a writer today, if you guys sit down and start reworking it, what works today, and to do it for Netflix, let's say, you know, for that audience, I mean, imagine what a smash that would be.
A lot of physical
comedy.
laughing
from here to eternity.
A lot of visual.
Come out at Christmas time or before Christmas. I mean, it would be fantastic.
I'm around with you in a second, but it was just a funny script, and you were it was an hilarious part for you. But you know, life is what it is.
Exactly.
You know, you just keep moving on to the chapter at the end about just giving back, you know, and then you're talking about Milton Berle helping you, Lucille Ball. And now you must find chances, or do young movie stars look you up or ask you or give advice? So you're a mentor of how to, I don't know.
Well,
is there anyone more successful? This will sound like I'm kissing your ass, but is there been anyone like you in the last 40, 50 years that come to America from another country, from extreme poverty, and do all these things. And then here you are now, still going and doing great stuff.
I don't know. I think that one of the people that I always admired a lot that came to America at the age of 15, I think, was Henry Kissinger.
Yeah, and he's still around.
And Henry Kissinger had an unbelievable career.
Yeah.
Academic career and political career. And it was just a genius foreign policy kind of a guy. And all that stuff. So there's a lot of people, Elon Musk and people like that have come to this country. Remember,
Elon Musk would be
but one of the things, no matter who it is, no matter how many there are, one thing we know for sure, that there's no other country in the world where we could have done that. No other country. I mean, if I think about, and I'm pretty much aware of the world because I travel a lot and through bodybuilding and movie promotion. And when I was governor, to do trade missions all over the world and all of that stuff. But there's just no place. And even today, a time when we have difficulty in America, where the parties don't get along and they can't get much done and all this stuff. Even during that time, when I travel around, I don't see anyone coming up to me and saying, "Oh, Arnold, can you help me get a visa to Jordan?" "Oh, Arnold, can you help me to get a visa to Russia?" Or "Can you help me to get to South Africa?" Or something like that. No. I mean, it's all about America. "Arnold, please help me. Can you write a letter for the immigration office? I want to get to America. I want to be in America." So this is the number one country, still by far. It's the most desirable place for people to come. It's the only place where someone like myself can come and make it big and make all his dreams become a reality.
And what are we doing right? Because we're pretty self-critical as a nation right now about America, but you have a perspective unique to people who are born here, tend to take it for granted. But what are we doing right so that people can come in and have a life like you've had in America?
But people can, and people do today.
Just because the economic freedom?
I think it is the economic freedom. I think it is just that it has its downfalls and it has its big advantages. And the advantages are more than our disadvantages. And that's what makes us so great. Yes, we have problems and all that, but I mean, it's still, anyone can come still today to America and really become kind of very successful. I see it all the time in a smaller way even. I see people I see this one guy was coming from Israel to Gold's Gym. He was working out for a while. Then all of a sudden he was like a personal trainer. And the next thing I know, he's driving up with an Aston Martin and with the next day with a Jaguar. And the guy's getting $100 an hour. He works 15 hours a day. 15 hours a day. It's talking about working your ass off, right? What we talked about earlier. This guy believes in working. So he drives these fancy cars. He has nice girls around. He trains people there in the gym. He's doing exactly what he wants to do. He's from Israel. Just came over here a few years ago. And the same is with a French guy that does the same thing. I know this one girl that is from Sweden. She's a personal trainer and she's making a fortune here and all this. So this is unlike any other place, And so I think this is really the place to be, and where people can be successful. And I think America should be proud of that. And you're right. When you're an American, you take it for granted. When you're American, you sometimes don't appreciate how great this country really is. And the thing that everyone has to do is, and I talk about this in the last chapter, is this country was built by hardworking men and women that have sacrificed, that were not just looking forward to the glory, but sacrificed. And I think that today's kids have to study that history because it will make them wake up and say, I cannot be this little girly man.
Well put. Because
and
of social
I cannot
media
be this guy that is staying in bed. I want to sleep in. Oh, I want to feel good. Oh, I want to be treated kind of fairly and nicer and stuff. No, this is a tough world. Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and kick some serious ass. Go to work. Whatever you do, the day's 24 hours. You can do it. And this is how we make this country, not only great, but keep it the greatest country in the world, is by not babying ourselves and not by kind of like taking it easy and trying to sleep in and I want to feel better and all this kind of stuff, but to kind of do the same thing as they did in the old days. Work your butt off. And it's like Ted Turner always said, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell and advertise. This is where the action is, and I believe in that, but it's important to know that we got to grind it out and we cannot just always look for the pleasures, but there is punishment, there is hardship, there is failure, there is tough times that you go through, but that's all okay. We got to go and have a clear vision, chase that vision, and then there will be struggles and all that stuff. The more struggles we have, the tougher we will get. And the more failures we have, the more we learn and the more successful we can get. I mean, remember what Michael Jordan said, I missed 5,000 shots. And I lost, 200 and some 80 games. But I became the greatest basketball player because of it. What I've learned. So it's don't be afraid of failure is one of the chapters that I have in the book. And so I think it's hard work, not being afraid of failure, to grind it out, to have a clear vision, not listen to the naysayers, pick big goals. So those are the kind of rules that I talk about in the book, because that's what we need to do in order to be successful as a person and as a country.
And I think that, it's in your book, but that you just have you in the end of the day. And sometimes don't look at social media too much and get tricked out that this person did nothing and is a millionaire. But what I found a few times just being driven around the country to gigs, and I had to have first-generation immigrants driving me from Russia, wherever. This one Russian guy goes, I tried to open business in Russia, someone stop. I tried to hire more employees, they say stop. I come to America, I start to do the same thing, no one say stop. No one told him to stop. Who are you now? Almost every time. I own the business. I just like your comedy. I drive you, Mr. Carvey. But so that's the idea. Is it's nothing. I think the secret sauce of America, if you put the work in consistently and are willing to fail over and over again, there is some great stuff that will happen to you emotionally, mentally, and hopefully you will experience success. It won't stop you.
You're absolutely right, because no one has ever said to me, you can't. They will say, I think this is impossible, or there's their naysayers and they say no one has ever done it before, but no one said, I will not allow you to do that.
Yeah. Right.
There's no such thing.
You've already done 4 movies. It's your turn. Now you go back. Lou Ferrigno's going to do twins.
Exactly, There's no such thing. Yeah. So, so I have to always say that none of it that I accomplished would have been possible if I wouldn't have been in America.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, see this here?
Yeah.
See the
hairs on my arms. Actually, mine's here.
Yeah.
Those monstrous forearms of yours. Look at this, all pumped up. How do you do it?
I do a lot of push-ups. I just push-ups are my main thing if I can't get to the gym. But I try to, I keep going.
Yeah.
I'm just got to stay
my
fit.
Excuse?
I always tell people you occupy a room, but you live here. So
That's
work
it.
on this. This is where you're living. You could occupy this, but
that's right.
You can't get away. No matter where you go, there you are.
Yeah, that's
Arnold,
this has been fascinating.
Total Recall line.
Total Recall.
Remember in Total Recall when I check in on the beginning that they say to me to sell this implant, they say, what is always the same wherever you go? You.
There you are.
She says, but here with Total Recall, we're going to help you with that. You can become kind of an agent, secret agent. And you can have this wonderful woman. You can do this. You can conquer the blah, blah. So this is the whole thing. The whole line is about that.
Do you have a favorite movie?
No, because it's like, it's like I love Twins with Danny DeVito. But at the same time, I love, Terminator. And I love, Predator, True Lies. I mean, it's very hard to pick, one. There's some movies that were fun to make, like Kindergarten Cop, to work with those 20 kids. That was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But there's other movies that were really hard to make, like True Lies. We were shooting for 6 months on this movie. from winter scenes and summer scenes in the snow, in the cold, freezing cold. It was just torturous. And then 80 days night shooting and all that stuff. But it was a fun movie to watch.
What
So-
just for the fans that are listening, at the end of Predator, when you got rigged a log to kill or something. What did you say? What are you or something? I think it takes its helmet off. Or, you're ugly. I can't.
Is that when you get the mud all over?
You're one
Yeah,
ugly
you're
motherfucker. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
it was a great line.
Yeah, exactly.
You're just almost to be dead. You're just covered in mud. You got this
Yeah.
monster.
Yeah.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
Come, kill me, do it now, do it now. And then on the end, I said, get to the chopper.
Hasta la vista, baby.
And I had no idea that I would be walking around. I would go to the Arnold Classic, to the sports festival, people screaming out, "Oh, get to the chopper!" You know, all my lines they're screaming out. It's just hilarious to watch that.
I was at the Arnold Classic with you. We were backstage, and on the TV monitor were all the contestants out there doing their stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just looked at the monitor. I asked you, I said, is there anyone exceptional here?
Oh.
And you just leaned back with, well, you know, you're looking
Well,
at
me. Yeah, shit. Well,
David,
said.
what have you been up to?
Oh, thank you. Finally. Well, kind of.
all right,
this
we're
and
going to
that.
take a quick break and come
Yeah.
back with.
No,
David.
don't go to commercial now. No, I was
He's
going to
doing
say.
a lot. You've got a
uh,
game show on tomorrow
Say
night.
hi to everyone. There's Maria, who's always a fun ball buster to me. There's Patrick, who's on the Boys spinoff, right? Patrick's doing great.
Mhm.
Christopher, your daughters. I see all these people here and there. We did Grown Ups too. Patrick was in.
Mhm.
And Christopher works on Tyson's podcast.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing great. Just hi to the family and thanks for coming down. And it's great to talk to you about this book.
But
Well,
David
be
is very,
useful.
very busy.
What's that?
He's at what you were doing. He's doing a lot of stand up.
Oh yeah, I'm doing stand up. I'm doing all the same. All
Yeah,
this
it's
shit,
great, yeah.
movies and
No, I'm
things.
crushing it. I'll send you a couple links.
Yeah, those are not hand me downs.
No, these are right off the rack. Tail it. Yeah. Hand me down some Dana.
He's like my little brother.
We
Now-
have Dana and I
and
share
then let me
clothes.
ask you something. I mean,
Yeah.
Sure.
I know that you're doing this podcast to interview me, but I find it interesting how both of you stay so lean.
Right.
Yeah, that's hard.
Just give me a quick rundown. What makes you stay so lean? Are you
No.
disciplined with your eating, or
Yeah.
you working out?
It's
or
you know
is
what
it?
I realized down the line at a certain point. It was my problem was more eating than working out more. So when I ate less or more, thought it out more, I would lose weight faster than working out too much. So it was cut out sugar,
Mhm.
try to cut out some white flour, and then overall, it is like more of a lifestyle than just dieting or whatever. You really slowly have to start cutting stuff out when you get older, and you can't eat as badly, do as much, this and that. And I sleep probably 8 hours. Dana, what about you?
I ran track and field in high school, distance running and cross country. Then
You still do?
Yeah, you still run.
Yeah, I do run and I hike. I do all kinds of things. I love the burn. You know how you say
Yeah.
it's better than an orgasm.
Yeah.
I love hard cardio. Sorry, it was on.
I
That
love
was
hard
on
orgasms.
Oprah or something. It's better pumping up. It's like better. I remember that was funny.
Yeah, when you
It's-
get the burn, when you
I love
kick
to-
into that, it's
I
great.
love to work really, really hard. I go up Griffith Park and I redline really. And then I started lifting weights, in my 30s. And then you and I have something in common. I had a bypass that the operation wasn't done correctly, but didn't hurt me when I was 42. So, and now I'm a little older than that. But that also put me on a Mediterranean diet, basically. And so my wife and I just got all the junk out of the house. We keep all the junk out of the house. If it's not right there, I don't have it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I weigh myself. I'm not neurotic about it, but I just keep track. It's like a report card
Yeah.
for me. And I'm not trying to get too thin. I just try to stay around this weight because
Yeah.
I feel lighter on my feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well,
not to eat it.
I just think that it is so important that we stay lean,
Mhm.
even though I'm not lean.
Well, you look great.
But I mean, I'm just telling you that I
I wanna
always,
look like
the
you.
day I got to this age now
Mhm.
where I admire people much more when they're lean than when they're bulked up.
Yeah.
Because I think lean is where the action is.
Yeah.
Because, the
That's true.
I love
body
that quote.
just, no, but the body
Yeah.
just is
Yeah.
Seems
it
to run
lives longer
hmm
when you're lean.
Yeah.
I look at my dogs. You know, the dogs that usually, the bigger dogs, they wipe out with the age of 12, 13, 14. I have this little dog, Noodle. A little dog like this. He's like 14 and a half years old, runs around, jumps up on every bench, and just still attacks all the other dogs when they're nasty, just the teeth, has full of energy, but it's little.
Yeah.
So he's going to live for the next,
I'm more
10
like
years
Noodle,
probably.
I think.
It's just amazing.
No, I'm Noodle
He has
and
so much-
Dana's
No, but I'm
like,
just, yes, I'm comparing them. Because it doesn't
But
matter
you're
if
right,
you're
carrying
an
too
animal
much.
or if you're a human being. Being leaner and being
Yeah.
lighter means a longevity, means that you're around a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I do 10 push-ups now and have you analyze just my form?
just to start. We will
Absolutely.
both.
my form.
I will
You can
too.
do it.
Yeah, he's taking the mic with him.
Taking the mic out so I can talk.
Okay, let's see it.
Just doing 10. I'm not.
David, you want me
but
to
I'll
hold
probably
it?
Shake a little bit.
Do you want me to hold your
No, I'll go down
butt?
toward it.
Okay.
So it depends where I want to
Here comes
feel it,
Dana. He's doing.
basically. So I'm in the push-up position.
Looks a
Right.
little girly man right now.
1,
Shaking.
2,
Well, don't- yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
No pauses.
8,
Nailing it.
9, 10. Perfect.
Shit.
Perfect.
Get the oxygen.
It was fantastic. It was very, very strict. And what was good about it was that your body stayed absolutely flat.
Right.
You didn't
didn't put the butt up.
buckle in with at the waistline
Yeah.
like a lot of people do and stuff
You got to
like
keep
that.
your glutes on.
You just
so
said
that you don't-
like a board, straight,
Yeah.
totally flat,
That's the greatest compliment.
disciplined.
Yes.
Yeah,
So that's what I do. And I do lat pulls. I do stuff for the back.
yeah.
And mobility is all the rage now.
I think it's
You know,
great.
Hip mobility.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
good
right,
job.
Arnold.
Anyway,
It's all my
good to
push-ups.
see you
All right,
guys.
Made
good
my
luck with the
day.
book. It's
Thank
great.
you for your help
Appreciate
with
it.
the book and all that stuff. I really appreciate that.
The book is great.
And we will stay in touch.
Yeah, of
Yes.
course. Always fun
All
to
right.
see
We
you, buddy.
will work together again.
That would be great.
On something.
Let's do something.
Absolutely.
Something. What are we waiting?
Yeah.
This has been a podcast presentation of Cadence 13. Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes. Available now for free wherever you get your podcast.
No joke, folks.
Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13, executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment.
The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman with production and engineering support from Serena Regan and Chris Basil of Cadence 13.